100%. Thanks.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Savannah. I'll be taking you through some of the highlights of the CFR node. So firstly, I want to introduce our team. So there's me, I'm the node manager for the CFR, and we work in the Western Cape and the Northern Cape. And then last year we had Leandra Knutzer, that was, and Chandra Kutias, that was funded by the Mapula Trust. And then we were fortunate to have the Presidential Economic Stimulus Fund funded interns, and we had 2 interns in Nieuwoudtville, Danville and Maria. And this year we have 2 new interns that joined us recently, Nomfusi Nsobi and Ayanda Masambuka. Okay, so Savannah showed the similar graph showing the national statistics, and we are just showing the from the start of the program. So in the Western Cape, we've monitored close to 60% of the species that occur in the area, the tax of conservation concern. And in the Northern Cape, we've only managed to monitor 26% thus far. But in the Northern Cape, we've only been working in specific areas like Nieuwoudtville. And so in the coming years, we will be expanding our reach in the Northern Cape and focusing on getting more of the species monitored in that particular area. Okay, and then last year was a really good year for testing out our new data submission system on iNaturalist. And so we've decided to simplify the process even more and to streamline the process. And so just showing some of the data that came in over the last financial year. So in the Western Cape, and there's 3 relevant projects that we have on iNaturalist. There's the Red List South Africa project, where you submit your data, like the population information and the threats. Then there's the Crew Contributors project, where we have a project that where all the crew volunteers that are linked to crew is in that project. So it's an umbrella project that pulls all the observations together. And then we have the South African Red List Plants and Animals project, which is also an umbrella project that collates information of any threatened plant that is observed on and posted on iNaturalist. And the important thing to remember here is that the South African Red List Plants and Animal project is only an umbrella project, so it only collates observations together. But that data only becomes useful to us and to the Red List team when it is added to the Red List project and the associated data like the population numbers and the threats are added. And so I just want to draw your attention to the particular projects here, and we can just look at the Western Cape. So in the Red List project, we had just over 2,000 observations of threatened plants and 875 species. But then if you look down at the South African Red List Plants and Animals, there were over 11,000 records of tax of conservation concern that was submitted to iNaturalist by some crew volunteers, but also people that are not crew volunteers. And so the important job for us now is to make sure that all those species that have already been loaded onto iNat makes it into the Red List project and the associated data is added. Okay, so these are just 2 screenshots showing, and when we tested the data submission project, some things are going very well, but we are having some teething problems. For example, this is just a screenshot I took yesterday of the project. And so you can see the numbers are already different. So as people add their data to iNaturalist, in terms of our reporting, that number changes all the time. But that is in a way good news, because you can still add your observations even if you even if it's outside of the of that particular year, you can always go back and add your observations. And then if you also just notice that there's in the Red List Southern Africa project, there's 2,000 observations and 95 observers. But in the South African Red List Plants and Animals project, there's over 12,000 observations and over 1,000 observers. And so what we'll be doing in the next few months is also trying to engage with those 1,000 observers and trying to get them working with crew and submitting the additional data that we need, like the population numbers and the threat information. And so just in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all the highlights that we had last year, but I'm just going to talk about my absolute highlight of the year last year was finding a new Maria. And so there you can see there was a plant in that was found in Wolseley. And there's Dr. John Manning illustrating the plant in the field. And this Maria has now been formally published, and its name is Maria cistiflora. And then, as Savannah mentioned, we do work towards implementing the National Plant Conservation Strategy. So one of the targets that we do a lot of work on is Target 8, which is around ex situ conservation. So we currently have a pilot project where we are restoring a population of critically endangered species in the Paarl area, Merismodus undulata. And so currently the species is critically endangered, possibly extinct. There are no plants left on the site, and we were fortunate enough to obtain seeds from the Millennium Seed Bank in the UK, and we've germinated those seeds and we've taken cuttings. And so at the moment we have about 50 plants that are growing in the nursery, and we will bulk up that population until we have enough to take it back into the wild. And we have been doing some restoration at the site, so improving the felt condition. So we've taken lots of cuttings and seeds of plants and we propagated it in the nursery, and we're now starting to take it back and restoring the disturbed areas at the site. And this project is funded by the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund. And then Tilla mentioned the illegal succulent trade, and this has become a huge crisis for us. So we have been actively involved in trying to respond to the impact that the illegal succulent trade is having on our very special plants, especially in the Northern Cape. And so there was a couple of interventions that we've taken. So we hosted a SANBI webinar for SANBI staff to create awareness about the problem, and then we've established a working group within SANBI to address the issue. And through that working group, we've been able to engage with the Department of Fisheries, Forestry and the Environment, and they are now taking the lead on developing a national response strategy for the illegal succulent trade of succulents. And then we developed a preliminary list of sensitive species that has automatically been obscured on our natural list. So there are over 500 species that we added to that list, and those species have their locations have automatically been obscured. And Tony will tell us more about how our natural list has ramped up their security on the site. And then last year we did quite a bit of targeted fieldwork to assess the impact of poaching, especially on highly restricted populations of Conophytum. And unfortunately, we found that many of the very restricted species were collected. Some of the species, more than 90% of their population, has now been taken out of the wild. And so we are very concerned about that. And so we're working very closely with the botanical gardens to bolster our ex situ material and our ex situ collections. And then we're also supporting the botanical garden staff that are receiving confiscated material. And just over the last year, there's been over 100,000 plants that's been confiscated and sent to the various botanical gardens. We support them to organize and sort and harvest seed and that kind of thing for the confiscated species. And then, as Savannah mentioned, through the lockdown, we although it was a very challenging time, it gave us good opportunities to work on improving our social media interactions. And so we started a YouTube channel last year, and there are a few very cool videos, some identification course videos, some videos on field trips. And I've also linked in certain videos that were made, like the 50/50 episode on citizen science, and some other videos that was made by other sources. And I've linked those to our YouTube channel. So if you search on YouTube for the Custodians of Rare and Endangered Wildflowers, you can join and subscribe to our channel. And hopefully in the next year, we'll be adding a lot more material, especially videos on field trip updates and some more ID courses as well. And then just for those of you that are not really proficient in social media, if you look at the handle here at CrewSitSci.za, if you type that into Google, that will take you to all our social media platforms. So it will take you to the Facebook page, and it will have a link to the SANBI website and our Twitter page. And hopefully we'll be adding our Instagram. And over the next year, we are looking to engage more on the social media side. And hopefully one of the interns will be taking the lead on getting our Twitter account more active and developing our Instagram page as well. Okay, thank you very much.